right, so it is Monday Madness, which means typically we would do a bracket battle, but since there was a premium live event today, I'm going to tell you the top 5 mistakes that I think WWE made at War Games. So there were a lot of things to like at War Games. I'm not hating on it. I actually enjoyed the event as an overall event and not really putting it into context of what it needed to be. More just viewing it as its individual thing. It wasn't bad. As far as like the Triple H era goes, I put it right between Clash at the Castle and Crown Jewel. I think it was better than Crown Jewel, but I don't think it was even nearly what Clash at the Castle was. So it's Triple H's third best effort as far as I'm concerned. But I clearly saw multiple things that made me go, what? What? I saw the thing. Like, there were things that made me go, what? Like Stone Cold says. So these are the top 5 biggest mistakes that I think WWE made at Survivor Series War Games, starting with that women's match was ugly as shit. Whatever word you want to insert there. It was ugly. And I had been talking about this all week. I said, I don't like the makeup and the chemistry of this match. It might be good just because there's enough talent to mask it, but it really wasn't. The booking was messy. It was a tough one to decipher. I thought that with all that talent, it might be stomachable, but when it was over, I just kind of looked at it and was like, what? What happened? Who came out of that match looking strong? Like, Rhea was solid, but she hasn't come out of that looking overly monstrous the way I think that she looked. She should have come out of that match looking like nobody could touch her. And I don't feel that way, right? Nikki Ash, she did a couple crazy things, but then those crazy things were just overshadowed by Io and Becky doing crazier things. So you didn't really get over the idea that Nikki Ash is crazy. You got over this idea that all the women are willing to jump off the top of the cage and do crazy shit. Also, I love Bianca Belair, possibly my favorite wrestler in WWE. But let's not lie, she almost ended the careers of Bayley and Dakota Kai with 2 sketchy-ass moves and 2 sketchy-ass spots in that match. One was a powerbomb and one was like a suplex, and both of them looked like, ooh, I don't like that. It doesn't look good. Let's not do those again. Like, this is the type of match that we're watching. This is what opened the show. This was the big go, and without that War Games gimmick, this is a nightmare, right? The War Games gimmick carried that first match along. Io Sky missed a couple big moves. She missed tried to hit a Hurricanrana on Bianca Belair that was just a complete whiff. This match felt like, to me, way too much choreography. It was a lot of everybody wait here for someone to jump on us. And at one point, they were building one of those Tower of Doom things in the corner, and Nikki Ash broke it up. And I don't know if they abandoned it or if that was part of the story, but I was like, thank you. Because that was the last thing that match needed, was a giant choreographed spot from the corner. This match didn't work for me on any level. Like so many people that I'm fans of, but the booking was just messy. Mia Yim, I don't even remember her in the match. Like, I don't remember what her impact was on the match. Her and Rhea Ripley should have been booked in a traditional Survivor Series match with the OC and the Judgment Day. And that should have been a completely separate thing. It makes no sense that was an integral, that they were not an integral part of that match. They were just booked in there because they needed 2 more women. And then let's talk about Becky Lynch getting the final moment in the big pin. That just once again doubles down on my theory that Triple H is relying on this small core of his roster, just like Vince McMahon did. There was an opportunity here to give this moment to somebody else, to let them have a big finish. But instead, we're finishing again with Becky Lynch, who I love Becky Lynch. I got no problem, but this wasn't her moment. And Becky Lynch, look, I think she has an identity crisis, because I thought that when we switched over from Big Time Bex back to the man, I thought that created a whole character change, but she's still wearing the goofy outfits, still kind of got the Lady Gaga persona. I don't know exactly, like, I don't know, man. That match was just messy. It was kind of a train wreck. I had been calling it all week. I said all week, this match bothered me. I've been saying it for weeks that this bothered me, that there wasn't more put into this. This really feels like Triple H was banking on Sasha Banks coming back, and it just never came to fruition. And so he kind of had to make do with what he had left. And that's the problem when you start booking based on things that aren't a sure thing. I mentioned this in my reason number one, but Finn Balor in the AJ match, well, it wasn't a bad match. Good match, actually. Really good match. That needed to be a traditional Survivor Series match. The OC needed to take on the Judgment Day in just a straight up 4-on-4, Survivor Series style elimination match and let the women get involved with the men. They were wasted in War Games. Those two women mixing it up with the guys in that match would have felt fun, would have felt fresh, would have felt different. Instead, we got two factions that basically just disappeared into the crowd, never to be heard from again. And we had Finn Balor take a clean pin from AJ Styles, which I think is a bad look. The Judgment Day, they've run their course. It's time to dismantle the group. It's not making sense anymore. If we're not going to run them as a group in matches, it doesn't make sense to have them do their thing long term. It's time to break it up. Let the stars be stars. Let the other guys kind of flounder around, and we'll figure out who and what happened. But ever since Edge had left the Judgment Day, it's been kind of a nightmare and a shit show that had no real direction. And it shows that Triple H wasn't 100% on board because his booking is sporadic with them. 1 week, they're kind of dominant, and then the next week, they're getting beat up again. They're kind of whipping boys at this point. The third mistake that WWE made with War Games was Ronda Rousey versus Shotzi just as a whole. This was confusing. This was a nightmare. Like, this is a match that if somebody walked away from this match and said, this was good for the show, what are you watching? With all that emotion they tried to build up for Shotzi pre-match. They tried to make it seem like this was her moment. And then for Ronda to just come out and basically, this was a squash match hid behind a match that needed to take up time. That's all it was, right? Ronda never looked like she was even trying. And so we're supposed to believe that Liv Morgan is a real threat to Ronda Rousey, but when Shotzi gets in the ring, Ronda just mocks her, tosses her around. Like, didn't Ronda Rousey just do an interview where she said she wanted to put over the rest of the women's division? That didn't look like putting anybody over. That actually looked like burying Shotzi. Ronda didn't sell any of Shotzi's moves. That DDT on the apron was a fucking joke. And the way she just manhandled Shotzi after Shotzi hit that big dive on the barricade over against her and Shayna Baszler, that's poor match development, guys. Like, you can't have Shotzi pull out all the stops, and then the minute they get back in the ring, it's like Superwoman just arrives and she does an arm drag off the top rope into an arm bar. Like, what's going on here? And then you get this information that WWE muted the crowd because, look, they're chanting, "We want Sasha." The truth is, right now, WWE has put the cart, the wagon, and everything behind Ronda Rousey, and she's gonna need credible opponents. And if the fucking WWE fans want Sasha Banks, give them Sasha Banks. Sign the check. You have the money. Make it work. Whatever it is. Because I can't sit through matches where you want us to, like, suspend belief that Shotzi actually had a chance. Like, I know I said it would have made sense, and there could have been a real feel-good moment had Shotzi surprised Ronda and won that match. They actually could have had some emotion, but instead, they just went with the safe bet and let Ronda squash her. Fourth mistake that WWE made at War Games, and this possibly could be the one that bothered me the most, was the weird fucking transition during Austin Theory's entrance to a Beyblades advertisement. Like, this type of shit scares me. Who in WWE is out there just selling their soul and selling the soul of the wrestlers that now, in a moment like this was supposed to be a big Theory moment, and instead it's a meme and a joke on the internet. You see these pictures of Theory standing in front of this giant Beyblades video. WWE is willing to advertise pretty much anywhere now. I mean, it's bad. Remember when Brock Lesnar used to wear like the UFC style shorts that had advertisements? It's only a matter of time before all these wrestlers have some sort of corporate sponsor. Like the NBA and the NFL, right? Like, Theory's going to have Beyblade logos on his fucking tights. Like, it's insane that they thought that was a suitable idea and that wasn't going to be talked about. And not in a positive way. Like, what about Austin Theory? Maybe Dominic Mysterio's the guy to sell Beyblades because he comes off as a little kid. But what about Austin Theory screams the Beyblade guy? Like, next up, are we going to do Seth Rollins and like Wonka bars? Are we going to do Bobby Lashley and like muscle supplements and GNC and things like that? Like, what was that just out of the blue, out of nowhere, and it lasted the entire time? Like, that's insane to me. Like, what was that? And the last mistake I think WWE made with Survivor Series was having no Bray Wyatt be on the card. That doesn't make sense to me, man. You've got this spectacle right now. You've got this magical act. You've got this beautiful entrance. You've got this man who can cut promos that the promo alone moves the crowd and makes them feel like they saw something. And you have an opportunity to do something where you can cut a promo, move his character along even further. Because right now, I'm assuming it looks like that the LA Knight stuff was just a speed bump. We thought it was going to be the first real moment of Bray Wyatt's comeback, but I think it was just a speed bump to kind of build his story up a little more so that Bray Wyatt could continue to feud with Bray Wyatt because that's what's happening. Why not let him further the story at War Games? Like, you have opportunity, you have time, let him come out and cut. 5 minutes is all you need for people to feel fulfilled. And we didn't get that. There were no weird glitches, no QR codes, no teases. Alexa Bliss was out there and there was no mention or no tease. Nothing. Like, I thought we could have got a light flicker. We could have got a screen twitch during her entrance, but we got nothing. No semblance of Bray Wyatt whatsoever at Survivor Series War Games, and I think that's a mistake. Like, you guys remember just a couple weeks ago, WWE fans were losing their shit over this whole White Rabbit thing. It was the only thing we were talking about. And now it does feel like the pot is cooling off a little bit. Bray Wyatt by no means is over, but he's relegated to SmackDown at this point. And I don't know that the casual fans are willing to like consume this story 1 minute at a time every Friday. That's a slow work. And now we have 9 weeks before Royal Rumble, and we're supposed to invest into this Bray Wyatt thing and this self-therapy. But are we gonna get fed 1 minute a week for the next 9 weeks going into the Royal Rumble, or is Bray Wyatt going to start stepping in the ring and doing a couple things? But like, this was weird. This felt like a moment, a big stage where you could have furthered that story and had something big happen. And we're just getting teased and teased and teased. And I don't like to see premium live events go by where we don't get a big chunk of the Bray Wyatt story. It doesn't make sense. So, is he going to wrestle in the next 9 weeks? Who the hell knows? It's I guess time will tell. But it looks like that's all the time I have today for the Casual Wrestling Daily Podcast. I will pick up where I left off tomorrow. Make sure to tune in Monday through Friday for more amazing WWE and AEW podcasting content. As always, I am the Notorious Nerdy D. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow.
Step in the ring, if you ready, let's go. Hey, Casual Wrestling Community Show. You already know, talking WWE. Keep it rolling and hosted by Notorious Nerdy D. Don't be sure that you gon' find. Tune in cause it's online. Hit 'em with a figure 4 leg lock, power driver or clothesline. We bringing that heat like the show, but you should